with the residents of the place. Indeed, those in awe of their Lord without seeing him will have forgiveness and a mighty reward. Whether you speak secretly or openly, he surely knows best what is hidden in the heart. How could he not know his own creation? For he alone is the most subtle, all aware. He is the one who smoothed out the earth for you, so move about in its regions and eat from its provisions. And to him is the resurrection of all. Do you feel secure that the one who is in heaven will not cause the earth to swallow you up as it quakes violently? Or do you feel secure that the one who is in heaven will not unleash upon you a storm of stones? Only then would you know how serious my warning was. And certainly those before them denied as well. Then how severe was my response? Have they not seen the birds above them spreading and folding their wings? None holds them up except the most compassionate. Indeed, he is all seeing, all of everything. Also, which powerless force will come to help you instead of the most compassionate? Indeed, the disbelievers are only lost in delusion. Or who is it that will provide for you if he withholds his provision? In fact, they persist in arrogance and aversion to the truth. Who is rightly guided? The one who crawls face down or the one who walks upright on the straight path? Say, O Prophet, he is the one who brought you into being and gave you hearing, sight, and intellect, yet you hardly give any thanks. Also, say, he is the only one who has dispersed you all over the earth, and to him you will all be gathered back. Still they ask the believers, when will your threat come to pass? If what you say is true, this threat come to pass. Say, O Prophet, that knowledge is with Allah alone, and I am only sent with a clear warning. Then when they see the torment drawing near, the shades of the disbelievers will become gloomy, and it will be said to them, this is what you claimed would never come. Say, O Prophet, consider this, whether Allah causes me and those with me to die or shows us mercy, who will save the disbelievers from a painful punishment? Say, he is the most compassionate. In him alone we believe, and in him alone we trust. You will soon know who is clearly astray. Say, consider this. If your water were to sink into the earth, then who else would bring you flowing water? Sadaqallahu alazim.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Surah Al-Mubarakah Al-Fatiha for Syeda Malika Mehdi, daughter of Syed Nusrat Hussain Zaidi Sahab. Surah Al-Mubarakah Al-Fatiha. Fatiha. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد، وصلى اللهم على آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين قال الله العزيز في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأوحينا إلى أم موسى صلاة على محمد وعلى محمد. Dear brothers and sisters, we are here to mark the Chehlum and the passing of a truly great lady. I know little about the family. What I was told, Syeda Malika Mehdi was the matriarch of the family. She was a pillar around which all of these family members revolved. And the proof of this pillar is that everybody throughout the world, the whole family, is in a state of mourning. She was a devout wife, a deserving, respected mother who was loved by all three of her children, Murtaza Bhai and his two sisters. She was the sister of 8, oldest of 8. So she was known as Baji, as some of you would know, for her siblings. Just Baji. Baji. Everybody knows her as Baji and her siblings. And she was a devout wife. She was an amazing grandmother to 9 grandchildren. And today we have people who came from Canada, from Boston, from Florida. This is the proof of the great nature of this lady. And what better topic, and the topic that I was given for this series of lectures, for this lecture rather, was motherhood. The verse that I started with is one of the verses that discusses the motherhood in a very specific way. You know, when you talk to some Muslims, they say wahi only comes to prophets. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says no, Allah's system of guidance is very vast and broad. It incorporates all creation, and it combines all creation into one crucible, into one locus point, which is submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, وَأَوْحَى إِلَى نَحْلٍ. We send the bee guidance. And then he says, we sent the prophets as guides. فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ النَّبِيِّينَ مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ, and all of that. But in this specific case, Allah says, وَأَوْحَى إِلَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى, that we sent wahi to the mother of Musa. Look, dear brothers and sisters, motherhood is a very sacred relationship. When I usually talk about parenthood in general, you have to understand that a parent is the God-given representative of God in the family. Meaning people might say, Maulana Sahib, you are providing us answers to Sharia, but Sharia is saying, look, respect and love your parents. One Sahabi of Rasulullah came to Rasulullah once, and he made, I'm paraphrasing this hadith, I don't remember the whole thing off the top of my head, but he says, Ya Rasulullah, if I have the chance of serving my mother or my father, every wish of theirs, granting them ziyarah, granting them hajj, umrah, and walking them everywhere, who should I prefer? He says, your mother. He says, Ya Rasulullah, if I were given a second time to serve my mother or my father, hajj, ziyarah, walking, speaking, feeding, everything, He says, who should I serve? He says, mother. He asks the question a third time, he says, mother again. That same person asks the question a fourth time, then Rasulullah says, father. Meaning 75% of service for the children to the parents is given to the mother. And the hadith, they say, Jannatu tahta aqdamu ummuka. That Jannah is under the feet of your mother. What does this mean? Look, when Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, please recite about salawat. Another salawat to the love of Muhammad salawat alayhi. When Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, when he starts talking about the rights of the relatives, one of the first rights he mentions is the right of the mother. He says, no, your mother is that she cared for you when nobody cared for you. Look, I'm paraphrasing again, but her abdomen, her stomach, her skin, her body was your home. And when you are born, and she says, she did not care if she was hungry as long as you ate, if she was thirsty as long as you were quenched, if she was in the sun as long as you were in the shade, if she was basically not comfortable with anything as long as you had all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your hands. So we have to give respect to this idea of motherhood. The word mother, I mentioned this, the Arabic word means and the root is origin, beginning. When we talk about motherhood, it is our point of origin. When a child is being born, is conceived, he gets all of his nutrition through the mother. When a child is born and he is conceived or she is conceived, everything comes through the mother. And they said, the hadith say, a mother takes care, feeds her children for at least 30 months. I was perplexed when I heard this, because the maximum period is 9 months in the stomach. But then the Mufassir, the commentator on this hadith in this section, by the way, the book is called A Divine Perspective on Rights. It is an exegesis on this Risalat al-Huquq of Imam Sajjad. He says, the minimum period a baby enjoys in the womb of the mother is 6 months. The maximum is longer. From that period to, if you want to subtract 30 from 6 or 6 from 30, that means a mother is taking care of her baby 6 months at least in her womb, and then another 24 to 26 months outside. And that relationship is so strong that nobody can break that relationship. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Pani de de. The relationship of a mother is that strong. That strong. Nobody can actually describe this relationship. Why? Because we have the blessed mother there. And indeed, when we look at Islam, we have many examples of many mothers. In the school of Ahlul Bayt, we have extreme examples of many mothers. This day actually also marks the wedding of Al-Mu'mineen Fatima Zahra. Look at the mother that Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha was. Look at that mother that Bibi Fatima was. She was that mother. Look, the Quran says about Rasulullah, أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَى وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. We found you orphan, we gave you protection. We found you needy, we gave you your desires. We found you poor, and we gave you فَأَغْنَى, we made you wealthy. That yatim was taken care by the part of Abu Talib. Abu Talib is that person where when he takes care of an orphan, Allah is saying he's not the one taking care of the orphan. Allah gave Abu Talib to Rasulullah to take care of Rasulullah for. Allah is not saying Rasulullah got وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَى وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى, that he is getting sustenance from Khadija. No, we are the ones who created a means for your sustenance. And look, I was saying she was a devout wife, a devout mother, a devout grandmother. Somebody, Malika, Mehdi, was that individual who loved to make her home welcome for everybody. Like I said, that's why everybody, Canada, Florida, everybody is here. Boston is here. Family from throughout New Jersey is here. We have the example. She was really treading the path of Khadija al-Kubra, whereby when we talk about Bibi Khadija, she was the richest of all of the Quraysh. She was the most Amir woman in all of the Arabian Peninsula. Yet when she got married, she says, all my wealth is at your service, Ya Rasulullah. All of my wealth is at your service, Ya Rasulullah. Her being a mother to Fatima Zahra. Remember, in the beginning life of Fatima Zahra, Ahlul Bayt are in Shayba Abu Talib. They are in that enclave that Quraysh had put the Bani Hashim in. So Fatima Zahra sees how much her mother is serving her husband, taking care of her husband and his family members and their family members. She was making a family, Bibi Khadija, in that difficult time. She was the one whose wealth brought them sustenance in as much as they could to take care of her family and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was that individual. And Bibi Fatima is only 4 or 5 when her mother passes. When she passes, Bibi Fatima takes the cloak of mothership around her shoulders. She takes care of her father so much that Rasulullah says, Fatimatu ummul li abiha. Fatima is her father's mother. Fatima is her father's mother. So we have the first example of Fatima Zahra. We have the other example of Khadija al-Kubra, rather. We have the other example of Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. When Fatima Zahra leaves this world, by the way, when we talk about Fatima, we see that every other mother of every other Imam, only one of their children became Imam. Fatima Zahra had 2 children that survived, male children, both of them Imam. Our azama that we give to Fatima Zahra so much, our philosophy is that if she was so pure, she is so pure, that if she had 1 million sons, all of them would be Imam. That is the azama of mother. Please recite that salawat. When we talk about Az-Zahra, She learned this from her mother. Remember, I'm not getting into musibah. When she left this world, she was only 18. When Khadija al-Kubra left this world, Fatima al-Zahra was around 4 or 5 years old. When Fatima al-Zahra left this world, Hassanain were like 9, 8, and Zainab was like 4 or 5, and Kulthum. But look at this household. She raised up a daughter that narrates to us at 4 years of age the whole khutbah of Fadak. There's only one rawiyah for that khutbah, and it's Syeda Zainab salamullah alayha. One source. One source. One source. And of course, we have examples throughout. Dear brothers and sisters, the one incident is the mother, the relationship is husband and wife. I discuss husband and wife related to Rasulullah and Khadija al-Kubra. What about husband and wife with Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra? Before I go on to that, speaking on the azamah of the mother, we see that the hadith say, Nahnu a'imma of Allah, a'imma Ahl al-Bayt are speaking. Nahnu a'imma hujjatallahi alaykum. We the imams are the proof of Allah on you. وَجَدَّتِنَا فَاطِمَةً حُجَّةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْنَا. This is the azamah of Fatima al-Zahra. That our grandmother Fatima is the hujjah of God on us. When we say, I have. When we say Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha is the hujjah of God on the remaining of the 11 imams, if Amir al-Mu'mineen was not there, Fatima al-Zahra would not have had a kufu that was at her level for her marriage. Now imagine the stance of Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha. She is the proof of God on 11 imams. And Amir al-Mu'mineen is the kufu of Fatima. Let me put it this way. Fatima is not the one being compared to. Fatima is the mizan, and Amir al-Mu'mineen is put on the mizan to see if he is at equals with Zahra salamullah alayha. To see if he is at that level of Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha. And of course, we have that when Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi moved to Kufa, and before that, Bibi Zainab was only 4 or 5 years old. But we find that the hadith, Imam al-Sajjad says, Anti alimatu ghayra mu'allam. This I want to use as a segue. I talked about husband and wife. Now let's talk about mother and child. And the house environment. A mother, look, with all due respect to the fathers, a house is not made by a father. A house is not made by a father. A father can work, a father can do everything, or a husband even. A husband can work, they can provide for their wife, but the sacrifices of a mother, they're the things that make a house a house. Look, that is why when we say that respect your wives, because that shows the kids how much you respect the house maker really. And again, Malika Mehdi was a housemaker. She welcomed everybody into her house. She welcomed all of her multiple relationships. into her house. She raised her kids up to a point that they took care of her last wills, and she knew that the kids would take care of her will. She knew that. That is proof of the greatness of this great lady, that she was really traversing the path of Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim. Respect your mothers, dear brothers and sisters. Respect your mothers. When we find a mother's love is irreplaceable. A mother's love is irreplaceable. We find in Sharia there is a role for a woman's love, a mother's love, and a father's love as well. But they say let the first person to feed a newborn is the mother with her own nutrition, because that sets up the relationship between not only a mother and a child, but rather a mother as the representative and the nurturer of God's creation on this earth, in this family rather. That's what happens. That's what happens. And of course, we have many examples in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We have many examples in the Quran. We have the example of the mother of Musa, for example. We have the wife of Fir'aun who was a mu'mina. When Allah chose a mu'mina to take care of Musa, even it was in the house of Fir'aun, Allah made sure she was a mu'mina, and that Musa's mother's wills was accepted. I started by quoting the Quranic ayat, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى, and we revealed revelation to the mother of Musa. What was this revelation? That you suckle, that you nourish your baby as much as you feel like, and that when you feel like his life is in danger, you put him in there in a sanduq, in a basket, and put him in the river. And she does that. Allah makes sure that the one to take care of his Nabi is a mu'mina, even if she is in the palace of Pharaoh. Allah made sure that he satisfied the fears, that he quenched the thirst of the fears of the mother of Musa. Why? Because Musa would not feed from any other woman. Allah made sure that his mother was the one to take care of him, even though she was a slave in the palace of Musa at that time. Allah made sure. Allah made sure that Nabi Musa knew who his mother was. Allah made sure that he answered the dua of a mother. When we talk about spiritual development, there's nothing more valuable in spiritual development than the dua of a mother. A mother, she prays. A father can come home from work and go to sleep. A mother is like, no, my kid has to do his homework. My kid has to have his dinner. My kid has to have sustenance for tomorrow. My kid needs to be taken care of. That's why a lot of times kids, when they have a problem, they don't go to the father, they go to the mother. Because they know the nurturing nature of motherhood is such that a mother will always have a soft spot in their heart for their children. A mother does that, dear brothers and sisters. And indeed, then we find in Sharia, Allah gave a place to a mother that is beyond any position any man can get. Allah made the locus of rights in the family a father, but He made the locus of love and compassion in the family the mother. Whereby they say, do not disrespect your wife in front of the children. They say that a father has the right to stop the nourishment of that first 2 years from the mother, but if they have agreed to this nourishment, then there's no hindrance, there should be no hindrance to this nourishment. And scientifically, it's proven that a baby knows where to get comfort, solace, support, love, and compassion. And they all get that from their mother. They all get that from their mother. When we talk about Ahlul Bayt, we have some extremely the best examples that we can find. But then we also have examples of servitude. In Ahlul Bayt, look at the sacrifices of Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha. Look at her sacrifice. Hussain gets sick. Hussain gets sick. Fatima al-Zahra makes a manna, and in Tashayyu there are specific formula for making a mannat as we say in Urdu, that once your hajat has been satisfied, it is wajib on you to make that manna or nadhar, for example. So they say Hussain gets sick and Fatima al-Zahra makes a manna that for 3 days she will fast. After they get better, she has to get to fast. She fasts. So does Amir al-Mu'mineen, so does Rasulullah, so do Hussain, so does Fadla. First day, Miskeen, Yatim, Asir, one of them come. All of them give their food. It is only Fatima al-Zahra it's wajib on. Second day, again, and somebody else from those 3 come, they give their food. Third day they come, they give their food. And then they say that from the ayah, they say Allah is sending His blessings on the ones who feed the miskeen, yatim, asir. Allah is so satisfied with this sacrifice of Ahlul Bayt, and specifically Zahra, because she is the one who made this sacrifice, this manna for the sacrifice, that they will fast for this time. That Allah puts it in the Quran. Allah puts this sacrifice in the Quran. Indeed, that is unbelievable. But we can say, people can come and say, what about women who were not directly born into the household of Islam? I mentioned Khadija and Rasulullah. And before Islam, and even academics in the Western world, they accept this. They say that in the pre-Islamic Arabia, there were many different religions present. There were idolaters. In Hijaz, there were idolaters. In Yemen, there were Christians. There were followers of Zoroaster and everybody. And there were also Jews in Hijaz, in the Arabian Peninsula. In the north, there were vassal states of the Byzantine and the Sasanian empires. Meaning you had Christians, Jews, idolaters, Sabians, everybody there. But in that period of time, there was a group of people who said, we do not accept idolatry, but we believe in monotheism, but we do not accept the monotheism of the Jews or the Christians. We believe the Jews, when they say monotheism, it's not a monotheism that negates the existence of other gods. They say our God is our tribal God, we will only worship him. Doesn't matter your gods exist or don't exist. The Christians had made their God into one of three, or three of one rather, three into one. There was a group that says we don't accept this one, that the Jews made their God only their God, thereby accepting even the possibility of other gods. And they also said we don't accept the Trinity of the Christians. We accept the wahdaniyat of Allah. We believe in all the prophets from Adam to Jesus, but we also believe in the coming of a final messenger. And they say in academia, they say these are the followers of the Hanafite religion. In Islam, we say Dinun Hanifa. Put it simply, they were Muslim. For us, they were Muslim. If you believe in one God, and you believe in prophets from Adam to Jesus until Muhammad, and you believe all of that, you're a Muslim. There were the house in the Quraysh, there were only two households, two clans that accepted from their very origins one God, and prophets from Adam to a coming prophet. The one was the Banu Hashim, and the other was the house of Khuwaylid. And Bibi Khadija was Khadija bint Khuwaylid. Meaning they accepted only one God. And they knew of the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad to come. Fine, that's Fatima, that's Khadija al-Kubra and Nabi Muhammad. And then we have Fatima Zahra, who is their daughter, and Imam Ali. But what about women who came into Ahl al-Bayt? I'll give you one example. I don't have much time, inshallah, but I will try to conclude as soon as possible. But a few examples. Look at the example of Layla, for example. Layla, salamullah alayha, has two children. And she is connected to the Baghi of Sham. The one is Ali Akbar, and she sacrifices him on the day of Ashura, and she sacrifices her ability to see her daughter, which was Fatima al-Sughra, by leaving her in Medina. That's Layla. Not Musiba yet. Rubab is another example. But we also have later examples. And the example that comes to mind is the mother of Imam al-Mehdi. Please recite salawat. Bibi Narjis is not born Muslim. She's not born Muslim. She is born as a descendant of the disciple Peter. Little bit of Christian history. When, according to us, it was Yehuda who was put on the cross. According to Christians, it was Jesus. Once Jesus, or Yehuda for us, is crucified, the disciples, Jesus say, you will belie me, you will leave me twice, and they left after Jesus them twice. The companions of Jesus, one Simon, as we know him, Simon or Peter, went to Rome. That's where the Roman Catholics come from. One went to Alexandria, and they went throughout the known world to spread the message of Jesus. So the Byzantines, they used to draw their lineage to Peter, the one who was crucified in Rome, who the Basilica of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome is based off of. Where the Pope now resides, that's where he was. And Narjis is one of his descendants. She is to be wed by an agreement with her grandfather to somebody. Every time the wedding happens, something happens to the wedding, gets canceled. It happens a couple of times, and afterwards, her father, who was a religious man, said, no, this is a sign of God, this is not meant to be. Imagine in a patriarchal society, a woman who has no rights is snatched of her ability to marry. Then she has patience and she prays, she supplicates. In her dream, she sees Fatimatu Zahra Salamullah alayha. And I'm not sure the order this happens after this meeting, and Bibi Maryam. She meets both of them in her dream. She says that, why did this happen to me? And then Fatima says, you are to be wed to my son. Hassan al-Askari, you are to be wed to him. We have agreed to your wedding. But then they say, she agreed to the wedding. In her dream, Rasulullah came and Nabi Isa came and they recited the marriage contract of Bibi Najis to Imam Hassan al-Askari. Nights pass. I don't know how long it passed. Many nights pass, you could say even weeks probably pass. She did not see her husband. So she sees Fatima Zahra and Bibi Maryam. She says, I have not seen my husband. They say that that's because you have not professed your faith in Islam. Once you do that, then you will see your husband. She was born Christian, Trinitarian, Trinity believer, not believer in the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad. Yet, when she is met by one of the companions of Imam Hassan al-Askari, Imam Hassan al-Askari, basically, al-Askar means military encampment. The Banu Abbas knew that the 12th Imam was going to be, according to 12 Shias, the Mehdi. They wanted to make sure that Imam Mehdi is never born. Therefore, your solution, put Imam al-Hassan al-Askari into a military encampment, whereby we can watch his house 24/7 and no woman can enter, then he can marry and produce an heir. So he tells his companion, he writes a letter, tells him, go to such and such a place, which is at the outskirts of the Muslim empire. And there you will find a slave. She'll be wearing fulan, covered head to toe in a hijab. Give her this letter. She'll start kissing it, and I want you to bring it to me. He says, fine. He goes out, finds her. She starts kissing the letter, and she agrees. She tells him this whole story. She was a Christian, descendant of the disciple Peter. And she accepts Islam. She accepts to live with Imam Hassan al-Askari. The birth of her son, Imam al-Mahdi, was a miracle in the same vein as the birth of Musa. Why? No signs of pregnancy whatsoever. If the Banu Abbas saw a pregnant woman in the presence of Imam al-Askari, they would split open her stomach and kill her and the baby. Just like the way Pharaoh did with thousands of Israelites. So Allah protected Musa by not showing signs of pregnancy. Allah protected Imam al-Mahdi by not showing signs of pregnancy. And she becomes the vessel through which the Hujjah of Allah in our time is born. Imagine that status. Imagine that status. She went from being the richest lady, like Khadija al-Kubra, went from being the richest lady in the whole Arab world to the poorest lady. Bibi Narjis went from the highest gentry of Byzantine society to living in a hole in the house of Imam al-Askari, so that she could never be found, living in secrecy. From the highest position to having no place in society. But Allah gave her a position in the hearts of mu'mineen that nobody else can ever have. He gave her a stance in the eyes of Fatima Zahra that nobody can ever have. Nobody can ever have. And when we say that Imam al-Mehdi will come, like I said, the mother is the vessel through which a child is born. Bibi Narjis is the vessel through which Imam Mehdi comes into existence. She is that vessel. Look, Imam Ali was not the vessel through which Hussain came into existence. And you can go on to the rest of the Imams. It was always a woman. That motherly love for a mother was always there in the Imams. That's why they say that Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, he would go through all the streets of Medina, except one. Except one. Somebody asked him, Imam, why don't you go through that street of Medina, that street of Medina? He says that there was one day on that street, I saw somebody hitting my mother with the blunt end of a sword, with the handle of a sword. Dear brothers and sisters, Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, she was only 18 years old when she left this world. We are commemorating the Chehlum of a mother. We are commemorating the Chehlum of a mother. Imagine being Fatima Zahra. The first musibah Fatima Zahra has to go through, the biggest musibah is the demise of her mother at 4 years old. The other musibah that she goes through is the demise of her uncle Hamza, Syed al-Shuhada. And then her uncle, again, and in-law, Ja'far ibn Abu Talib. And then she also goes through the death of her father, Rasulullah. She goes through the death of her father, Rasulullah. They say that once Fatima Zahra was crying and crying and crying, Rasulullah had whispered something in her ear. They say he waited a little bit. Rasulullah waited a little bit, then he said something else. After which, Fatima Zahra started smiling. Somebody came up to Fatima Zahra and they asked her, Fatima Zahra, what did your father say that made you cry? And what did your father say that made you laugh? He said the first thing he said in my ear was, Ya Zahra, I will leave you soon. I will leave you soon. So I started to cry. The second thing he said was, you will be the first person from my family to join. You will be the first person from my family to join me. So Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, she says, I smile. That musibah. The father had converted the whole of the Arabian Peninsula to Islam, but there were no more than a handful of Muslims at the janazah of her father. Imagine the suffering. Imagine how much Fatima Zahra felt betrayed by those who claimed to be followers of her father, those who claimed to be Muslims following the path of Rasulullah. Imagine what it felt like for her that they had just finished marrying the father, and the majority of the Muslims went to the Saqifa of Bani Sa'ida. Imagine what it felt like for Bibi Fatima Zahra. Imagine what it felt like for her. But they say that when she was about to breathe her last, Somebody came, a group of Muslims came, I'm not saying who. They ordered Fatima al-Zahra and the household of Rasulullah to give bay'ah to the ruling authority. Fatima al-Zahra says, do you know whose household this is? Do you know who is in this household? They say, yes, we know. Yes, we know. We do not care. And if Ali does not give bay'ah, we will burn this door. We will break open this door and we will force bay'ah. We will force bay'ah. They say, Fatima says, do you not know that Rasulullah for 40 days, he would come to this household at the beginning of the prayer and he would say, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ رِجْسَ أَهْلِ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. For 40 days he would come and make this statement, and now you are threatening to burn down this door? Do you know whose door this is? They say, yes, we know, but we do not care. If Ali does not give bay'ah, they say Fatima al-Zahra was stuck between a wall and a burning door, dear brothers and sisters. But there was a nail that stuck out from that door. There was a nail that stuck out from that door. And that nail punctured and broke the rib cage of Fatima al-Zahra. This 18-year-old mother, this 18-year-old Zahra, they say that when Amir al-Mu'mineen came out, Rasulullah had ordered Ali ibn Abi Talib to remain patient. They tied Imam Ali's neck on a noose and they dragged it across the city of Medina. Fatima al-Zahra, when she gained some semblance, they say, she says, where is Amir al-Mu'mineen? Where is Abu Talib, Ibn Abu Talib? They say she is told that his neck is tied in a noose and he is being dragged through the city of Medina. They say Fatima al-Zahra takes fadda and they say that she goes to the grave of Rasulullah. They say Imam Ali says, oh Salman, go tell Zahra that do not make bad dua. Imam Ali says this. Salman turns to Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, Ya Ali, how do you know Fatima al-Zahra is about to make bad dua? They say, he says, Salman, don't you see? I see the athar of the Yawm al-Qiyamah happening in the city of Medina. I see the asar, the effects of the day of judgment happening in the city of Medina. I see the walls of Masjid al-Nabawi are being lifted off the ground. They say, tell Fatima that if you make this bad dua by the grave of your father, your bad dua will be accepted, but nothing will remain of the religion of your father, Rasulullah. Salman goes and he tells Fatima al-Zahra, I won't take much more of your time, maybe another 2 or 3 minutes. They say Salman says this, Fatima al-Zahra had her hands raised. She says, Ya Allah, bear witness, I put my hands up for Ali ibn Abi Talib and I put my hands down for Ali ibn Abi Talib. They say Amir al-Mu'mineen, Fatima al-Zahra, when she breathed her last, she gave Imam Ali a few instructions. She gave Imam Ali a few instructions. She says to him, Oh Ali, first of all, bury me at night. Make multiple graves so nobody knows the site of my grave. Make multiple janazah. Make sure that those who were oppressed me are not present at my janazah. And she says to him, Ya Ali, I want you to perform my burial rites. I want you to perform my ghusl and my kafan. They say when Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was giving ghusl to Fatima al-Zahra, the companions of Imam Ali, the true companions of Rasulullah, they were behind. They were outside the building. They heard Imam Ali yell a loud cry of grief. Salman, he asked, Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, Why did you cry? He says, Salman, it was the first time I saw that punctured rib. It was the first time I saw that punctured rib of Zahra, that she was hiding from me this whole time. They say Amir al-Mu'mineen buried Zahra. Usually the sufferings of a person, they end when the person leaves this world. Those who are left alive are the ones who are grieving. But they say Fatima Zahra's suffering did not end on the day of Ashura. Imam al-Hussain is lying there. Shimr ibn al-Jawshan la'natullahi alayh is striking the neck of Abu Abdullah. They say Shimr is striking the neck. In our riwayah, we say 124,000 prophets were present at the Shahada of Imam al-Hussain. All of Ahlul Bayt, previous Ahlul Bayt were there at the Shahada of Imam al-Hussain. 124 prophets. Every time they would strike Imam Hussain, a few prophets would say to Rasulullah, "Oh Rasulullah, I cannot bear this suffering from Hussain anymore. I am leaving." And there came a time where all the prophets before Rasulullah left. There came a time when Rasulullah says, "Oh Fatima Zahra, I am leaving. I cannot bear the suffering of Hussain. I cannot bear the suffering of Hussain. I am leaving." There came a time where Imam Ali says, "Oh Zahra, I cannot bear this. I am leaving." There's a time when Imam al-Hassan says, "Oh mother, I cannot bear this, but I am leaving." Zahra says, "You go. I will take care of Hussain. I will be with my Hussain in his last time." They say that Shimr la'natullahi alayh, he was asked why it took him so long to shove in the head of Imam al-Hussain. They say he would say, "Every time I would strike the neck of Hussain, I would see two hands of a mother who would say, don't do this to my Hussain." Inna lillah وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره. Let us all recite Surah Al-Mubarakatul Fatiha for Marhuma Syeda Malika Mehdi, daughter of Nusrat Hussain Zaidi Sahab. Fatiha. Yeah. السلام عليك يا رسول الله يا محمد بن عبد الله. السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا خليفة الكبرى المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام عليكم علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليكم محمد بن علي بن الجواد. السلام عليكم علي بن محمد الهادي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي بن العسكري. السلام عليكم حجة بن الحسن وصاحب الزمان. السلام عليكم.